After 5 years building the venue up at Open in Norwich, I decided it was time for a new challenge. Um, it's been very, very rewarding starting a venue up from scratch, but I've done that now, and it's down to that venue to carry on the work I started. I've decided that I would like a fresh challenge, so I've come to Epic Studios, and I would very much like to do exactly what I've done before and bring Epic to the next level. I'm fascinated by the fact that it's also a TV studio, because I've always been interested in music television as well, so hopefully in the future I can combine the two. But my priority to begin with is having a lot more exciting and great shows here. In turn, that will hopefully build up the profile of Norwich more on the UK gig map, so that we can have even more bands coming to Norwich. I have a very good relationship with the other venues in Norwich as well, so between us, hopefully, we can really make Norwich a primary city instead of a secondary market, which it is known of at the moment. I joined the Epic team at the beginning of 2017, and I've been made to feel very, very welcome. I think hopefully people are as excited as I am. It's a great venue with a really good sound. I like the fact that it's got dark walls in. I think venues are always better when they're dark. I also like the flexibility as well, so we can play around with the capacities. So we can do shows from 150 to 300, and also up to 1,000 capacity as well, and anything in the middle. So it's great like that. I joined Epic at a great time, because after my first week there was the Christmas party, although obviously it was in January, and it was fantastic, actually, really good. Lots of shots on the bar. Thank you, Jonathan. And lots of inflatables and games. I think that if I had to describe the staff in 3 words, like I've been asked to, I would say game for a laugh, even though that's 4 words. A's and it doesn't count. I've done various different things in music. I was in a band in 1989. We were based in London. My band weren't that good, and I soon came across lots of other much better bands that were worth putting my efforts behind. So I was a promoter in 1990 in North London. That's where I came across a band called Daisy Chainsaw, and within about a month they asked me to be their manager. So I said, hell, why not? I'll do that, because I think you're brilliant. We spent the next 18 months touring around the country with bands like Hole and Therapy, Carter, and we had some interesting fans. One of them was Kurt Cobain, that came to see the band in Newport in South Wales. We released our single, Love Your Money, and it ended up being top 30. It's very, very exciting. I've actually forgotten the question. So I managed a band. I was then asked to join One Little Indian Records in 1993 to work with a guy called Derek Burkett, and I signed a band called Compulsion. I helped put a band called the Sneaker Pimps together, and then signed Skunk Anansie in 1994. The following year I was asked to join Polydor, so I joined Polydor as an A&R manager, and I was there until 98. I then took a year out, which was nice, and then I worked for SJP, who managed producers. Amongst others was a guy called John Leckie that produced Stone Roses, and Chris Kimsey that did the Rolling Stones, and that was part of the Muse management company as well. So they had Muse and they had lots of producers. After that I became a presenter at a company called ChannelFly, which is linked to all the barfly venues around the country. So I got to interview bands like the Foo Fighters and Queens of the Stone Age, Muse, Stereophonics, etc. I also, during this time, also worked for Channel 4 doing a few programmes as well. I also then managed a band called Kinesis from Bolton. They were signed to a label called Independiente. I then took a few years out and did a normal job before coming up to Norwich and booking all the bands at Open. And of course, I'm doing a similar role now at Epic. I've enjoyed most of the jobs that I've done, so I know that I've been very, very lucky. Managing Daisy Chainsaw changed my life. They were very, very exciting times, as were the days when I was A&Ring for One Little Indian Records, because on the roster at the time, not only did we have the bands that I had signed, but we also had Björk, we had The Shaman, we had Chumbawamba, Credit to the Nation, Kids of Distinction. So that was very, very exciting. And obviously doing interviews to camera on Channel 4 and then ChannelFly was also great. I would like soon to say that Epic will be my highlights, but I intend to stay here for a long time. But I'm sure that this will be one of my favourite jobs. I've just been asked to mention my biggest highlights and why. I've had loads of highlights. Things like going to see Skunk Anansie on Top of the Pops. Obviously, it's a programme that I grew up with, so to actually be part of it was very, very exciting, and realising how small the studios are. I remember we went for a little adventure and accidentally walked into Albert Square whilst we were at the TV studios, which was quite fun. Highlights. There have been so many. Signing Skunk Anansie, getting into the charts is always a highlight. Doing all the presenting is a highlight. Yes, too many to mention. I'm very lucky. Something I haven't done yet, I touched on it several years ago when I actually made a TV pilot, but I've always been interested in TV and music and combining the two. I would love to be involved in some sort of new live performance-based television show, maybe something that kind of like harks back to the old grey whistle test, something like Jules Holland or something, but definitely performance-based, but then to mix in maybe an outside broadcast, or to have, you know, the bands on the couch and being interviewed as well. I think that's all very, very exciting. And I would very much like to work towards that, but my priority is and always will be booking as many exciting shows for you to come and see. I think it's really important to have a wide variety of music, something for everybody. It's something that I've done before and it works. If we find that we are more successful with certain genres, then we'll kind of focus on those genres, but I do very much want to put as much different types of music in here as possible. I'm sure if somebody asks you what's your favourite music, you're going to say, well, it's all sorts, so I want to put all sorts here. I'm particularly excited. One of the first shows that I've booked here is a band called The Vapors. You could say slightly self-indulgent, because The Vapors was the first ever gig that I went to, and that was back in 1980 when I was 14. The Vapors, of course, are famous for their hit Turning Japanese. The band have never been back to Norwich as far as I know, so it's quite an honour to be the first person to bring them back to Norwich. And it's kind of completes a circle. I think a lot of people, when they go to their first gig, it kind of inspires them. But I certainly didn't realise that whilst I was watching them at the age of 14, that I would end up booking them 27 years later, something like that. Yeah. I've just been asked, what would I choose first, booking Sinead O'Connor or saving 1,000 kittens? Well, I save animals almost on a daily basis. I've often rescued battery hens, and the other day I actually, bizarrely enough, saved a rat that was stuck in a tree. So I would choose booking Sinead O'Connor would be my priority over saving 1,000 kittens. Don't get me wrong, I love animals, I don't even eat them. However, I also love Sinead O'Connor a little bit more than I love animals, so Sinead O'Connor will be my answer.